Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to Technology Times Thought Leadership Series. Please, can you introduce yourself?
Good afternoon. Delighted to have you here. My name is Muhammed Rudman, the CEO of Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria.
Thank you, sir. Certain facilities have been designated as part of Nigeria's critical national information infrastructure by an executive order from President Bola Tinubu. Could you explain the significance of this designation for the wider Nigerian internet ecosystem?
It's quite significant. We've been waiting for such designation by government over the years, and we are delighted to have it. And the only concern I hope I have is that it might not be implemented, as usual Nigerian government policies. But we hope and pray that this policy will be fully implemented.
Okay, thank you, sir. How does the localization of internet traffic within Nigeria and West Africa through IXPN latency reduce latency and improve overall internet performance? Can you share insights on the benefits so far?
Yes, the benefits are significant. As you rightly said, the latency is the time it takes for a request from an end user to the information that he requested. And with IXPN in Nigeria and with some of the major content internet service providers in Nigeria like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, TikTok, and the rest, and also the domestication of data, of the various websites in Nigeria. So through the exchange point, it makes it really, really faster, and it makes it quite cheaper because the distance have been reduced.
Okay. What are the economic benefits of local internet traffic routing for Nigeria and West Africa? And how does IXPN operation contribute to this?
Okay, so by just shortening the distance, the path that a request of an end user takes to the destination, it means that you get the information faster, and because it's closer, it makes it far cheaper. So at the cost, in terms of cost of connecting to the exchange point, we are around 5 to 10% of the cost of an ordinary internet service provider when they want to reach out of the country. By accessing the information locally, it makes it much cheaper.
Okay, thank you, sir. IXPN was selected by the African Union to be the regional internet exchange points for West Africa. So what challenges and opportunities does this role present, and how is IXPN ensuring regional cooperation and connectivity on the journey thus far?
Okay, so the challenge we faced was that we had a connection that time between Nigeria and Ghana. The objective is to see how we can start domesticating traffic across the West African region with the intention of domesticating traffic Africa-wide over the years. But the challenge we faced is that the cost of the transmission capacity, that means the link between here and Ghana, is much more expensive than the link between Nigeria to London or Ghana to London. The objective of connecting Nigeria and Ghana is to ensure there is a reduced cost and reduce latency, which improves performance. But unfortunately, because of that high cost, we couldn't sustain the link. So initially, our objective is, as you know, that we are domesticating traffic within Nigeria, that is local traffic. Then we give opportunities for the internet service providers in Nigeria to see that they domesticate traffic in Nigeria. Then they also have regional traffic for the West African region, and also have the international link. So right now they have domesticated and international. Unfortunately, we couldn't do the domestic, the West African region because of the high cost. So the major challenge is the cost of the transmission capacity, because there is no business case for an internet service provider to connect to Ghana towards domesticating traffic when the cost to the internet is much cheaper. When I say cost to the internet, I mean cost to London, cost to US is much cheaper than going to Ghana. It's just like for flights. You will see that cost of flights to other European countries or to Dubai is cheaper than going to one of the West African countries. For example, if you want to go to Burkina Faso, Ouagadougou.
Okay, thank you, So, IXPN has multiple locations across cities in Nigeria, including
Yes.
Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. How does the organization plan to expand its infrastructure, and what are the key investment priorities for the near future?
So yes, we plan to expand, even though IXPN is losing revenue. We are subsidizing those locations because there are no customers there. And our intention right now, we have a site in Gombe, which we want to activate by next year. This year we have reached Delta, and next year too we plan to be in Ibadan and other states. So we plan to expand to see how we can assist those unserved or underserved areas access to cheaper internet access.
Managing an IXP of regional significance, it must come with challenges from technical operations to policy issues. What are some of the major challenges you face, and how are they being addressed?
So some of the major challenges is that for some of the locations we want to have presence in, there is no functional data centers. We have to have a purpose-built building to do it. Some of it we have to co-locate with government facility, like the way we're doing in Kano. We are co-located with Kano State Library because there were no carrier-neutral data centers when we set up the exchange point. So we had to power the sites 24/7. As you know, the cost of power is on the high side. We had to look for alternative power using investment in solar panels, battery banks to power the sites. And with all this, you realize that there are very few internet service providers in those locations. So the problem is that though we want to expand, we want to assist in being available across Nigeria. The unfortunate situation is that in some states there is no single local internet service provider. Because if you look at Nigeria, 99% of the internet browsing that people are doing is through their mobile devices. We roughly have around maybe 200 internet service providers some time back, but right now they have shrunk. So they are very, very few, and that market it's really small. So our objective is to see how we can be in different states where small community networks will spring up, and so that they will have cheaper internet access. So one of the major challenge is the lack of data centers, is, as I mentioned earlier, in those locations, lack of available internet service providers that have what is called autonomous system numbers, which is a prerequisite to connecting to the exchange point. Then the third one is the cost of link between Lagos to Abuja to Port Harcourt to different places is really on the high side, and also the reliability of those links. We had to change some of the service providers over the years because there is a frequent fiber cut, though it's not it's not what is called caused by the service providers, but usually is the terrain they find themselves, because there is a lot of sabotage, road constructions and the rest.
Thank you, sir. How has IXPN's presence and operations contributed to the growth of Nigeria's ICT sector, especially regarding internet access, digital economy, and innovation?
Excellent question. So you see, when IXPN started operating, 99.9% of internet traffic goes out either through the submarine cable, at that time SAT3, or through the satellite. With the advent of Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria, right now we have all the major internet service providers in Nigeria connected to us, including content service providers. When we came in, there were no content service providers. And as you know, exchange of traffic takes place on the internet between what is called access networks that you use to access the internet. Those are MTN, Airtel, and all the internet service providers. What are the access networks reaching are what is called content networks, because when you are browsing, you're browsing from your access network MTN to reach where? Google, Facebook, TikTok, and the rest. And those are called access networks. When we started operating, there is no single, content network. There is no single content network in Nigeria. With what we are doing right now, we have attracted all the major content service providers in the world into Nigeria, and we have achieved from 0.1% that I mentioned to around 50 to 60% of internet traffic is now domesticated in Nigeria based on what we are doing. So that is really huge. And because of what we are doing, we have attracted some of those huge content service providers into Nigeria, and those content service providers request data center space. And over the years, because of our services, we have seen involvement of what is it called, data centers coming into the country. You can see that there are a lot of data centers springing up. Right now we have multiple that are career neutral, and many more are coming into the country, and some of them are really upgrading their capacity in Nigeria, and all because of the interconnectivity within Nigeria. So IXPN has really made a huge impact by attracting those players, the data centers and the content providers into the country, and also significantly dropping the cost because of the domestication of traffic of the internet.
Operators in the telecom space have identified fiber limitations in Nigeria's hinterland as a key challenge to realizing full coverage in Nigeria. So how do you think this can be addressed?
So in most of the countries, to reach those underserved and unserved areas, usually government invests a lot of funds towards having national fiber infrastructure, and that's why government in the last few years have different initiatives. One of it is Galaxy Backbone, to see how Galaxy will provide fiber links, and then they also went towards the Infraco. They gave licenses to the 6 geopolitical zones and Lagos so that those infrastructure companies will provide fiber. And now you've heard that the minister is trying to see how he can get funding of $2 billion to deploy 90,000 kilometers of fiber across Nigeria. So the solution is actually for government to really intervene, not necessarily government deploying the network, but having a public-private partnership with the telecommunication companies, with the internet service providers, to leverage what they have and to see how they can expand the existing fiber network across Nigeria.
Thank you, sir. The collaboration between the NCC and IXPN was crucial in the early stages of the IXPN. How does IXPN continue to leverage public-private partnerships?
So we still have an excellent relationship with NCC, the regulators, and we are where we are because of their support, because over the years they have provided the links to some of the remote locations, and it's based on that we are able to provide services to those locations. And now we are at a self-sustaining level where IXPN is paying for those links, because NCC supported initially, and now we're paying for those links. So we still have an excellent relationship with them. We leverage that relationship to expand our network.
What kind of government support does IXPN get?
Honestly, right now, financially, no. As I said, over the years, government supported by providing the links to the remote locations. Right now, I don't think we are getting anything immediately as per se, but there are things in the pipeline. Sorry, let me mention that this year we've gotten a site in Gombe, courtesy of the Nigerian Communication Commission. They gave us a small data center which we plan to launch next year.
Thank you, sir. Looking ahead to 2025, what other plans does IXPN have?
So IXPN plans to expand into multiple states next year. We plan to also attract other content networks and content distribution networks that are not in Nigeria, like Apple and some of the other major content providers into the country. And there are some other technical things we are working towards, and which I don't want to mention here. But for example, this year, IXPN has complied with what is called MANAs, mutually accepted norms for routing security. We are recognized because we have implemented what is called internet, public key infrastructure, by ensuring that all the routes, all the information that our members are propagating over the network is really filtered, and that is for a better security of the networks in Nigeria. So we have done that and want to do such things similar in future.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Just one last question.
Yes.
Can you give us an insight into the gentleman called Muhammed Rudman, and what are those inspiring leadership thoughts and perspective that you may have for the next generation of leaders out there wanting to drive and inspire change, just like you've been doing at Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria?
That's a personal question. Well, about me, I'm from Malamodori local government in Jigawa State. I studied in Malamodori and then University of Jos, and later moved to IT. And then, dedication and my passion to the ICT industry is what has led me to be where I am today. Is by ensuring focus. When the social media comes in the early 2000s, a lot of my colleagues jumped into it, and up to now, some of them have not really made progress because of social media. So what I will encourage the young generation is to reduce their social media consumption and focus on learning, read a lot of books, use the opportunity, because right now, with technology, you have access to information. It's unprecedented in the history of mankind. Access to huge information at your fingertips. So I urge this young generation that are coming up to really take advantage of that. In those days, I had to go and look for libraries. I had to find ways for colleagues that have IT books to photocopy. And when the internet came in, I had to go to internet cafes and pay good money to learn. Now with this technology, you have it at your fingertips. So I urge the Nigerian citizens to take really advantage of it, and let's take our country to the next level.